So what seems to be really key here is something, which can often be the beta amyloid plaques, but it could be other things. But something is going to trigger kinases to become more active and hyperphosphorylate the tau protein. That's when you really start to have a problem. Thinking ahead to some of the other stuff that I know that you work on that we're going to talk about, you mentioned traumatic brain injury. You could just get blunt force trauma, which triggers inflammation that could start to initiate this hyperphosphorylation process independent of, say, beta amyloid plaques. I would imagine that in theory, at least, there could be, say, chemicals or toxins in the environment that might upregulate kinase activity and lead to the same result. What do we know about possible environmental toxins that might tie into Alzheimer's disease?
Yeah, there's a lot of evidence coming out now, looking at various plastics and how plastics that might actually migrate into the gut microbiome. There's a lot of connection between the gut microbiome and the brain. May actually show up in the brain. These plastics might show up, and we know that anything foreign that has the ability to cross the blood-brain barrier, right? Blood-brain barrier, you can think about it as vasculature that has a variety of barriers preventing things from getting into the brain. Because what you want to do is you want selective things to get into the brain, chemicals, compounds into the brain, because if they're pathogenic, for example, or they're viruses or pathogens, it can actually harm the neuron. And if the neuron is damaged permanently, in many cases, they don't regenerate, right? So what you're finding is that plastics, for example, have the ability to get through this barrier. And there's actually recent papers that are actually showing that it's present in the brain, which is very alarming. In terms of other toxins, we've studied quite a bit the herbicide known as glyphosate, which is a product that is used, a chemical that is used to control unwanted weeds in agricultural communities, right? And the idea with glyphosate is that it's deemed safe to mammalian species because the way it works is by blocking a pathway known as the shikimate pathway. Shikimate pathway is found in plants, and essentially, if you block that pathway, you block the production of important proteins that leads the plant to die, right? But the idea when it was first initiated was that, or when it was first used in the 1970s, was that mammalian species do not have a shikimate pathway, so any glyphosate that you consume is literally going to just be excreted out of your body. But we're finding that that's not the case. As you've probably seen, there's been a lot of research and litigation tied to a lot of effects that glyphosate can have on cancers, right?